Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the news of JT Miller getting traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the New York Rangers. As I'm sure you've all heard by now, I found out after I got out of the shower, and so, got the bad hair, usually wear a hat, but we are going to be diving on into this. This is one of those deals where you thought, wow, finally something has happened here, and I think that this was something we've all kind of talked about for a long time. Miller is part of kind of a plethora of pieces going over to New York, and then the Rangers are sending over Philip Hedl and then a first-round pick. This is going to be a situation where we'll talk kind of about the Pettersson and the Miller situation towards the end here. But for the Rangers, they make this trade as a team that we've already covered. Got a lot of star players that are in their early to mid 30s that have been on deep runs before, but you kind of wonder in 3 to 4 years how competitive they'll be. Will they really be able to go out there and challenge for a spot to get to the Stanley Cup final, mainly as a top dog? They're kind of like the Carolina Hurricanes in some regards. Definitely different in some situations, considering the Hurricanes could actually still be on the up if Mikko Rantanen signs an extension. But they both have been able to go to the Eastern Conference Final before, but haven't been able to go on to the Stanley Cup Final. And the Rangers, realizing maybe time could be running out a little bit, are in a win-now mode. Now, this team ended up starting off the year on a good run, had a horrendous run in a 19-game span. They went 4-15-0. Allowed the most goals, spent the most time on the PK, had the worst points percentage in the league, and I think may have scored the fewest goals in that span as well too, but have had recent signs of life as of late, going 6-2-2 over their past 10 games, and kind of even further out than that, they've been able to kind of revive this season, and in part thanks to that good start of the year, saved them from, really being out of the playoff picture. They're only 5 points back out of that final wildcard spot right now, as the Eastern Conference is really making things just kind of fun right now in terms of seeing who can go out there and win it. So the Rangers are still in that playoff hunt. And so by getting JT Miller, they have yet another big name that could possibly help them go out there and go on a run. I know a lot of times it'll say, oh, don't go out there and try to get players that are a little bit older, that have these long-term deals, that have a decent amount of money attached to them. But the Rangers are kind of the exception to the rule here in a lot of ways. They are very much focused on the front end of this deal, and at the same time, too, you have to understand that the salary cap is going to be rising pretty significantly in the next 3 years, as we found that out today. So for them, I don't think it really bothers them as much. They are really focused on the fact that they have not won a Stanley Cup since 1994, and Miller may be able to go out there and help them do that. And it's kind of interesting as well, too, because he was drafted by them in the first round, back 2010, 2011-ish, somewhere around there. The first stint did not end in a Stanley Cup. We'll have to see if he's able to come back and then play a hero or be a hero in this role and then kind of get things going in that regard and give the New York area something to be really buzzing about here, as it had recently been the Islanders that have been kind of the talk of the town, whereas the Rangers, they've had those opportunities as well, too, but I think that for the Rangers, they just also have not really been able to get that one up on the Islanders in that regard too, because neither one has been able to break out into the Stanley Cup final. But in this sense, I think, of course, very, very recently, the Rangers have been able to kind of go out there and show, hey, no, we are still the top dog, and now they might be able to really cement themselves here and say, hey, we've got 5 Stanley Cups, you've got 4, we're big brother, your little brother. Miller might be a part of that. Now, as for the Canucks, Philip Hedl is a good player. He is a guy that is young. He may not be a star, and he certainly will not replace Miller probably in terms of what you're getting from Miller in a good year. But he is a guy that you might be able to use for the short term. Maybe you trade him later. Maybe he has a good year. Maybe he has a career year. And then you end up, either signing him an extension or getting more of a return out of him. And then getting a first-round pick would be nice too. Mind you, the situation is just very, very odd. And I say that because of the fact that everybody knows about the dirty laundry in Vancouver. It's getting aired out here. Jim Rutherford is basically going out there and saying, hey, yeah, there is a problem, and we have it. It is what it is. So I think that the Canucks really couldn't get stingy here and say, no, we want these picks and then this player from certain teams. I think it would have been hard because these teams would have said, well, we'll just wait it out and wait for your locker room situation to get even worse and even more diabolical day by day as things continue to be kind of awkward. So the return was going to be hard to really ask for the sun and the moon. As for the Rangers, they're a team that kind of probably was able to take advantage of that in that regard, saying, hey, we'll take on his contract, we will give you a first-round pick, and we can kind of make this possibly all go away. So maybe Vancouver just said this is the best we could get. We don't know. Maybe there were no other offers right now. Tough to say. I do think the Rangers were one of those teams that was kind of leading the talks for a little bit there, talking about a reunion, which was certainly interesting as now it is done. But is this all kind of glossed over here for the Canucks? The answer is maybe not, because apparently the rift kind of has really split the locker room up, and there's talks about maybe even Elias Pettersson getting traded as well too, which sparks talks about what happens here for this team. Are they really going to embrace a rebuild? The answer to that is I don't really know. They aren't really too far back of a playoff spot right now, as they're 1 point away from Calgary. They've won 3 in a row and are playing the Dallas Stars currently, and could still very well go out there and make it to the postseason. But with everything that's kind of going down for the team, especially as of late, you truly do wonder what would even happen there if they made it to the playoffs. Is there ever going to be a deep run? I don't know. And I think that the haul you could get for Pettersson if you traded him could be pretty good. I know maybe he hasn't been exactly what you're hoping for some years, but he is still a good player, relatively young, on a long-term deal that with the rising salary cap probably would actually look pretty good. And if he goes to the right team, I think would really, really be a good player for them. I really don't know how all these things will transpire for the Canucks. And I'm torn as a fan because I'd like to see us go to the playoffs as a fan, obviously. But at the same time, too, if it just ends in a first or second round exit, I don't know how much I feel about that anymore, because we've been a team that's been able to do that a couple of times. And obviously, if things are bad and multiple guys need to be shipped out, including 2 big names like Pettersson and Miller, to even get things back on the right track, then you probably are looking at a rebuild in this regard. So keep an eye on this for the future. We'll have to see how kind of things go for the Canucks, especially. I think for the Rangers, as long as they make the playoffs and then are challenging a couple times here, especially early on in this Miller deal, probably will look pretty good for them. I'm not exactly sure if the Canucks will come out on top here in a lot of ways. We could be talking about how there could be a very painful process ahead, and then seeing the Rangers and Miller look good for the next few years. If that was actually the case, probably would sting quite a bit here. But for now, the Canucks are able to work around things a little bit more financially, and maybe things are a little bit better. We'll see. And then it actually would be kind of funny if Miller, kind of blew things up in New York, and then things went really bad there after they've had a pretty good run of things over the past 4-ish years. So anyway, who do you think won this trade, and where do you think these teams will go? Do the Rangers win a Stanley Cup with Miller? Do the Canucks end up fixing things, or are they going to enter a rebuild? Let me know all that stuff down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go with hockey already. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.